The meat of things for everybody, part two. So now we have first stack is soul. Your soul is either light or dark aspect. That's not that and your nature. Okay, and then we have your mind, which is independent of your soul. That's the second level. Your inner being, you know, who you think you are and who you see yourself as. And that also is male or masculine or feminine aspect. Pardon me, I apologize. So masculine or feminine, light or darkness first within soul. Okay, then masculine or feminine aspect within mind. And then we have male or female aspect within the human being. And then the combination, I'm getting a straight download because this is very important to a lot of you that are listening, because we know that there's binary and there's all these other things. So I'm trying to just give structural so that we can assemble our human being as the best antenna for both receiving and transmitting, right? And this is why, because AI, you know, we're nobody's fool, right? So that third aspect where the mind and soul come together to make the human being, right? That aspect, there's the male and female there. So we have the light or dark within the soul, excuse me, and then we have the masculine or feminine within the mind. And I know that sounds contrary, but we have to remember darkness is not bad or evil. That's not, so. And then on the third stack, the third dimension, our actual outer experience with reality, that's the mind and soul coming together to make you a human being. Okay, and then that's where the two equations are running of male and female. You know, whatever you're in a male or female body, and that doesn't mean that your aspect identifies with that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because aspect is energy use. Okay, within the actual structure, what goes in goes out. So you have to be true to your nature, which is your soul on the first stack, and your nurture, okay, which is your mind on the second stack. And then you manifest them in action, behavior, words, as thought or from thought, okay, of soul and mind coming together and giving you imagery within your mind, you know, within the, most of us, our theater, our screen is, you know, behind our forehead. So, you know, when you're thinking produces images and words, right? And thinking is part of your mind, your intelligence. Your soul is your emotion. So logic is the second stack of mind. Emotion is the first stack of soul. And the combination of those two things are the elimination or only use of one or the other, not whatever. That's the third, using the understanding of those coming together. So your nature, your nurture, to make you your being. And we are humans, okay? And we are the most evolved species at the moment. And we're trying to continue our evolution so that we don't just become that which we call the others we're stewards of, the animals and the plants, right? So we know that everything has intelligence. All right, off point, back on point, using the technopathy or using clairvoyance or whatever. So the third stackable is your human being, and this is where you're a man or a woman because you're born, and then we know there is the hermaphrodites, right? And some people can be born the equivalent of castricized. Yes. So, you know, not asexual, but sexually neutered, right? And so, but that's one is a aspect of brain or mind level where you're neutered, so you have no sex, even though you may have presentation of male or female, right? And then there's, or not, I don't know, right? And then there's the hermaphrodite, which has both sexuality, both sexes within, okay? And that still does not change whether you identify as a man or a woman initially. That's so messed up. My point is, this is where, this is why all the conversations take place here in this illumination of our three-dimensional reality on a solar planetary level, so that these resolutions can be made. And because I'm a structural guy, I'm trying to explain content, and that's not good. So getting back on point, when all of that's put together, the soul, the mind, and the human being, that is our experience of being alive, right? Just like history, herstory, and thestry wrap up to make our linear time of existence. So being able to have a mind and a soul and function within an environment as a human being all wraps up to that. So now, what's the point? The understanding your aspects first. So because of getting into the lies, that's what it was about. So the stackables, now that we understand what makes up the human being, those three aspect stacks, right? So now let's go to the immediate above us. So first we have what we call solar. So the next stackable is actually the satellite, the planet, and the star, the moon, the earth, and the sun, right? And then the next stackable is actually star, constellation, and then galaxy. And the lie is constellation. They skip that step on us. So we as human beings of soul and mind have been conned to think on the soul level, right, that it's all about on the soul level, it's about us as a being, a human, and then the fact that it's us in the universe, and we skip the galaxy altogether. And understanding Jesus, we fill in either the star level of illumination or the galactic level of illumination, because you have epiphany on that small spark. So we're told it's either us, the star in the universe, or us, the galaxy in the universe. And those are lies. And then on the mind level, we were conned into thinking that it's basically the star of the galaxy in the universe, or it was the planet, the star, and the galaxy. Okay, lies again. So now everyone's trying to, with those, that right there is 4 equations, 2 for a soul lie and 2 for a mind lie. So just out of those manifestations, how do you get to the third dimensional human being, intelligent, sentient self, and produce thoughts, actions, and communications that progress anything harmonious? If you're already running on misconceptions on the soul level and then on the mind level, how can your human being produce any product or service that is harmonious or resonating in sync with everything else above or below us? And that's when those of us who complete our connection to nature, we understand that somewhere in our nurture there was things are inconsistent. There's disharmony, right? So that, and then when you get to the mind level and you start investigating and learning, you start to get conspiratorial, for lack of better terminology. But the point is, you see specific examples of what I call lies, but behavior or communication that is inconsistent with what's really happening. So this is where I get back to what myself and my twin are up to. Who we are and what we're doing is irrelevant. The how we're doing it and why we're, or the how and why are what's relevant. So in the same token, once you start trying to figure out how and why, you see the disharmony or incorrect frequency, right? So we have incorrect frequency and we have disharmony. So those are the two things that we can find on the mind level because of the soul's connection to nature and trying to harmonize things and to maintain structural integrity within that harmony of content. All right, so that means and comes down to where these lies are. So now we know that first and foremost, our planet seed specifically just deals with our our satellite, the moon, our planet, the earth, and our star, the sun. That triangulation allows us, because our planet provides our atmosphere along with our star, the sun, and the moon. And that atmosphere allows our three-dimensional reality of light to exist for us to interact with and be alive and survive in. Okay? So, as a human being, our first concern is if you're born, you have rights to be alive. Okay? And those rights to be alive come from laws of nature because you were born. You couldn't be birthed if the laws of nature didn't allow your birth. So, your second set of rights then come from the mind of human beings who interact with their environment and others, so that the nurturing for growth while you mature, so evolution and illumination while you're aging and maturing, is the proponent to be reinforced and is most harmonious and most resonant with what is above and below us. So once we're able to become full planet seed, the steward, the shepherds, the protectors, and the servers of all other creatures, species alive around us, then we can understand that we're all made of the same thing, which then heightens our understanding of parent stardust, that we have a quality with our star and other planets as a species and a planet in unison. So we nurture ourselves to and others to the understanding of expanding illumination by or growing illumination by expanding our darkness. And this is where those with dark masculine male aspects are most suited to exploration. So back to your soul and your mind making you a human being, and then how to grab that aspect and apply it using technopathy and connecting on a stellar level as well as on a personal level. And the prompting of my other, which I still didn't get into, crap. So this connection of human being, your soul is your belief and your mind is your thinking. And those are unalienable rights to you, given to you by the universe, by God, by the divine feminine. Okay? And because of that, your existence alone provides the ability to resonate harmoniously with the universe and others. So no thing can take away, nothing and no one or no other can take away your thoughts and beliefs. So no one can tell you what is true. No one can tell you what to believe or what to think, in other words. So everything's true. Everything's full, blah, blah, blah. So getting back to why I say that is, so what I call lies, because of my autism, when I see behavior inconsistent with with what I'm hearing and what I'm told is truth, to me it's a lie. So what we're trying to do is starseed. Instead of looking down upon the solar system or just shining out into the absolute darkness of the void, is connect with other stars as constellations. Constellation is how we grow illumination to galactic level. Think about it. Say, there's special numbers to everybody, but say there are constellations made up of 6 or 9 stars, right? And say that there are 6 or 9 constellations, and say those constellations are all around the galaxy. So my calendar in clock divides our spin around the galaxy into a calendar of 7 states, right? And then the clock of 32.7 or 37.5, 30, somewhere in that, divide 7 into 220/50. Right? And I have correct math, but we all first have to agree on certain things before we zoom in. And my percentage that's off is 1/trillionth of a measurement. That's how, right? And that's why we need to get to the next level of after trillion for real, so that I expand the math, because only being off a trillionth still puts us off 30 million years in our orbit around the center of the galaxy. So blah, 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 blah. Relevance to that. Because of that, if we have 7 constellations located in 7 different places around the galactic bar within the galaxy, and think about it, as a constellation, say we make up a greater being, the constellational giant, that's the stellar seed level, right? A bunch of when we say a star system, that's a constellation, a stellar cluster, right? So a bunch of stars local get together and they push to, we know how bright the galaxy shines, in that boundary of the galactic border. If we put all 7 constellations back, their chakras, right, up against that boundary, then we shine in and push out, making that boundary whole. We illuminate the entire galaxy, right? And think of Nuit or Nut as the bending over female, the Isis, right, making a U-turn. Your back's up against the boundary of the galactic universal shine illumination, and then your legs and arms and face and abdomen are looking down, and that's the star system that makes you up, that controls that 7th of the galaxy. And this is how we raise. And I promise you, I'm going to tell you how to connect, but if I don't explain the lies, when you connect, we don't get much done, okay? And not telling you how, it's just using the proper structural level with the proper content for that level. Then you get the most out. You actualize your entire self and throw your whole self into it, and you actually become a shared mind of a celestial astrological giant. What the hell? A constellational giant, right? And that's not the true giant. Your higher self giant is much bigger. So now we have star, constellation, galaxy, right? That's the next set of 3. And then you have, from there, cluster, supercluster, universe, right? That's another stackable. And the stackables that we've been told are equations within those trinary stacks. So there still is a connection to us, the galaxy, and the universe. That's what we're trying to hook up through technopathy. You, as a human being on planet Earth, directly connecting to the center bar of the galaxy, right? And then that bar of our galaxy is connected to the Big Bang, the bright explosion, the center of our universe, where we all came from. And that is the technopathic link sync. And then the other one that we're trying to do on the astrological sync is not worrying so much about what's going on all the planets in our solar system, but connecting with local stars around us who are other individual human beings who have learned to go from our star through grace to the center of our galaxy and be apocalypsed through the Lamb and come out the other side and become another star. And that's the process that we're trying to assist in happening. And we're going to use a lot of visualizations that everyone's used to. But until I get through that, because like Brexit Pixie, she's clairvoyant. A telepath has been honed. Basically, think of the incorrect superhuman, where you're using, all kinds of all kinds of growth and maturation assistance that is unnatural to the human being. That product is, even though it's superhuman, it's incorrect because of the way that it grew and the way that it matured. Now, the same process is telepathy being used within our third dimensional reality, because in order to have that skill to be able to focus in on one other individual instead of being clairvoyant and there's a bunch of voices and you can resonate or harmonize and then tune one specific in, or allow them whichever by your contact with the others around you, your clairvoyance pulls, triangulates. So that's why clairvoyants have an audience, so they can triangulate and pull all those voices that can be tuned in specific to the audience first, thereby not going nuts and really having to hear all the voices, Bruce Almighty. Whereas a telepath in reality is a hyped up clairvoyant so that it can be used as a divining rod incorrectly to find others. And that's why we didn't turn on telepathy, because people already have misguided thoughts, and that's nothing wrong with that. But if everybody heard everybody else's misguided thoughts and knowing that they couldn't control their emotions so that they didn't turn them into action or words to hurt others, right? That would drive everybody nuts, knowing all of that stuff, and insane, mad, and angry, and hurtful and harmful. So that's why we didn't turn on telepathy, but clairvoyants are natural telepaths. And as we all evolve, when we speak at each other and communicate, it's what is known as telepathy, but it's really technopathy, because once you get to that point of evolution of the human being, there's no need to think at each other. I can't express it or explain it, but you know what I'm talking about. So why I mention all of that specifically, back to your mind and your soul and your belief and your thought and how you own all of that. And there's nothing incorrect or wrong about anything you believe or think. And as you sync up and become enlightened, you mature and grow in incorrect or degenerative thoughts and behaviors you eliminate, because you actually grow and understand the disharmonious nature of that. And that's what we're meant to experience. As soon as we can acknowledge incorrectness, we end it and grow. And this is where we come into draining the Hydra. And I keep getting growing the snake. And all I can think of is linear time has always been known as a snake. And because we're using the Egyptian pharaohic pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme, to overthrow as history, and history is the ISIS plan of what we know about the Egyptian celestial, astrological, and constellational stars that were used. And they only use 3 stars. We're using 6 to 9 stars, 7 different constellations of intelligence that come back here to Earth to communicate. So why I needed to say that, because we're getting into 23 minutes again, is when I said this message is for all human beings, it's so that you know as a human being, you own your soul and your mind, and that's what makes you a human being. Now, anything that is not a human being is alien. And humans, I'll just get to that, right? So now we think of and have heard and have interacted with everything from angels and, I don't want to, the fae, the imp, I don't want to go down the list. The point is, a human being with a soul and a mind has the ability to have this technopathic link sync. And as a human being and having a soul and a mind, your soul is what you believe and your mind is what you think. And now there's logic and there's emotion. And those of us that have the dark aspect are logical. We're willing to kill, okay? And that's why we have the dark aspect. And, excuse me, see, son of a gun, we're willing to die for. That's the difference. And this is where the lies come into play. And I have to separate divine feminine content from divine masculine structure in the application of my dark masculine male aspect of giant. So I'm the only one as true Satan that's allowed to actually kill for the divine feminine. And that's the point. Emotionally, if you are an emotional human being, you are of the light aspect. Okay, light, not feminine, not female, just light first. And that means you're willing to kill for your beliefs. If you're of the dark aspect, not masculine, not male, just dark, you're logical. You're willing to die for what you think, right? Because logic and thinking and mind and dark usually all come together, whether you're male, female, masculine, feminine, right? It's all a light or a dark aspect. Whereas on the emotional aspect, on the light aspect, it's emotional, neither male nor female, masculine or feminine, and you're willing to die for your belief with your soul. Now, combining the two, a true star seed of solar stellar balance is willing to die for what they think logically and kill for what they believe emotionally. And that's why, as here in three-dimensional reality, as a man or a woman, we see what is called the Janus face, the duality, the need for being both male and female aspect. But we separated that. That's why God has separated it into male and female on purpose, because in order to come down to this small, we had to split binarily. So my twin is the emotional, willing to kill for light, soul, belief that I am part of. And she, I believe, allows me to be the thinking, logical, willing to die for dark aspect of her. Because we all want to be alive, because it's glorious to be alive and live. So once again, any alien, right, whether it's the blue, whether it's the red, whether it's the green, whether it's Fae or anything, they already had their mind, soul come together as a being and unite with their God aspect. They're here because this is the only place that was available to them upon their escape from devouring, because they didn't combine the light-dark aspect properly. So we're coming up on 28 minutes, so I'm going to end with this and what I was trying to make known.